Hello and welcome to No Nonsense Airbnb. In this video, I'm going to show you all the various options and settings you have available on Airbnb website, and I'm going to take you through all the navigation steps on how you can reach there. One key thing to note is if you are new to Airbnb and if you have not yet published your listing yet, you will see your screen totally different from what I have available here, purely because when you're starting to list on Airbnb, they keep it so simple for people to be able to list their property. They do not show all the options. Okay. So if you are someone who's not yet published your listing, I would recommend you publish your listing once and then unpublish it straight after. And then all these options which I'm going to show you will appear the same to you as well. Before that, they will not be there. Right? So this is the Airbnb website. By default, it is driven towards people who are looking to book their stay, and there are all these options where people can, find properties and book that. Now, the key thing is on the top right, you will see my profile image. Okay. This is the key menu button. This menu button always stays there. Okay. No matter where you are on the website, this menu button is your key to jump into various sections. So let me show you what is in there. All you need to do to open this menu button is left click, and then it opens these options for you. The first one is messages. When you click on messages, it is going to take you to your message inbox as a guest. Okay, it will take you to your traveling inbox when you click on that. I will go back, and then the next option is the notifications. These are all the notifications you would have received from Airbnb. For example, if you've been referring people or any other notification which Airbnb has sent you as a tourist, as a guest. Okay. The next option you will see is the trips. Under trips, you will see all your past and upcoming trips which you have booked on Airbnb. And the fourth option is the wish list option. Wish list is something where you can shortlist properties when you're traveling. We all look at lots of properties, and if you just want to shortlist a few of them, you can easily add them to the wish list. Let me quickly show you how you can do that. When you're on Airbnb website, let's say if you're looking for a certain place to book, and if you like some properties, you can simply click on this heart button at the top, and then it opens which wish list you want to add that property to. You can create a new wish list, like you can say my next holiday destination, right? And you can just type in there the name, and then that property gets added to that wish list. You can add as many properties you want to that holiday wish list, and then at a later point of time, if you want to go back and see all those properties, you can simply click on accounts and click on wish list, and that takes you to all the wish lists you've added so far, and just click on that and all those properties will be displayed to you. Simple, very easy, and very handy as well when it comes to shortlisting a few properties. The next option is manage listings. When I click on this, it will take me to the hosting dashboard. I won't click on it just now because we will take a deeper dive into this tab later on, but this is how you can go on to your hosting dashboard as a host. The next option is manage experiences. If you are hosting experiences on Airbnb, this is where you can click and it takes you to your experiences dashboard. The third option is account, which we will go now. Account is where you see all the core settings of your profile. You can set your payment and payout methods. You can set your notification settings and all those various options, which I'm going to show you in a minute. The last two options are help. When you click on help, it takes you to help center, where you can see all the various articles, you can watch the videos and all those support stuff Airbnb has created. And the last option is logout, which is self-explanatory. So let's first go into the account option. When you click on account, it takes you to this screen where you will see these 9 big boxes with various options. But before I go into those 9 options, let me just show you 2 more key parts which are on this screen. The first one is the profile, go to profile. If you want to change your Airbnb profile image, or if you want to change your about section on Airbnb, this is where you need to click. You will go to accounts and then go to profile. Okay, this will take you to your profile page. If you want to change your profile photo, you can just click on update, and either you can upload a new image by clicking on upload a file from your computer, or if you have been uploading few pictures in the past and if you want to choose one of them, you can just choose them, drag them there, and that's it. Okay, so it will update your profile image. If you want to update your about section on Airbnb, you can just click on this edit profile here, and that makes the fields editable. You can just type in whatever you want to write about you. You can mention your location, where you are based, and the last option is the entrepreneur, right? This is where I mentioned entrepreneur, but if you want to share your work details, where you work, on what you do, this is where you can mention about that. So nothing else. This is just a basic profile screen, but let me just go back into account once again. The second option on this screen, which is very important to know, is at the bottom. You will see this need to deactivate your account. If at some point, if you want to deactivate your account, if you want Airbnb to remove your account, this is where you can do that. All you need to do is click on take care of that now. And that will take you through the steps of different procedures. They will ask you why you're disabling and all that. I have done a separate video on how you can suspend your account or permanently delete your account. I will drop a URL in the description below. Please feel free to go there. But at this point, I won't go into too much of detail on how you can deactivate your account. Let's go back into the account section now. So in the account section, the first tab you will see is the personal info. This is where Airbnb stores all the key information about you, right? All your legal name, gender, date of birth. If you want to change your email address, you can click here, edit, and then you can change your email address. They will authenticate whether it's you or not. Once you have authenticated, they will give you the option to change your email address. If you want to change your Airbnb phone number, you can just click on edit here, and then you can change your phone number as well. If you want to change your address on Airbnb, this is where you can change your address. I would recommend you keep your Airbnb address updated at all times, because I have seen they do send little presents over the time. So it will be a good idea to just keep your address updated all the time. Rest of the options are pretty basic. Let me just go back into the account section once again. The next is login and security. So once you're in login and security, it gives you a couple of key options. If you want to update your password, you can do so. From here, the first option is update. You can click here, and then you just enter your old password, new password, and update. Okay, that will change your password. The next two options are for two-step authentication. If you want to set up, extra security on your profile, you can set a PIN for Airbnb, and also you can change your security questions if in case you need to recover your account. The next two options are the social accounts. Okay, Airbnb gives you an option to connect your Google and Facebook account. Okay, if you want to disconnect or if you want to connect, this is where you need to come. You can just simply click on connect or disconnect, whichever way you want, and that will disconnect or connect your account to that social media channel. The last section on this page is the device history, where you can see all those devices you have logged on to Airbnb from your profile. And then if you want to disable something, or if you want to log out from an old device which you're no longer using, you can click from here, and that will deactivate that device forever. At the bottom of the screen, you will see the same option again, where you can deactivate your account, and it basically takes you to the same screen which I showed earlier on the home page of accounts. Let's go back into the account section again. The next option is payments and payouts section. This is a key section. Everyone who's either traveling or hosting on Airbnb will have to come into this section, because this is where you define your payment options. Okay, this has 5 different tabs, and I'm going to take you through all those 5 sections. By default, the first section is the payment section. This is where you will set your payment methods for traveling. Okay, whenever you're traveling, whatever you define here, Airbnb will use that card to pay for your trips. Okay, you can define as many payment methods as you want. Against each of these payment methods, you will see these 3 dots, Within the three dots, you will see these options. You can set default. You can set any of those payment methods as your default payment method, or if you want to remove it, you can remove them. So the next option is the travel credit. So if you have received any travel credit from Airbnb, you will see that amount here, and when you click on this drop down, you will see all the breakdown of what the travel credit constitutes of. The next one is Airbnb gift credit. So if you have received an Airbnb gift card or credit, you can add your gift credit here. Airbnb sometimes, for if you've had an inconvenience, Airbnb sends you gift credit in return for that. This is where you can add that. All you need to enter is your PIN, and that gift credit is already, because it is associated with your account, as soon as you enter your PIN, that starts appearing on your account. And the last option on this screen is the coupons. If you have Airbnb coupons, gift vouchers, you can add them all here. All you need to do is click on add coupon, and this coupon code option appears, and you can type your coupon code and redeem coupon, and that will add that credit to your account. Simple as that. The next section is the payout section. This is where you would define your bank account details, or whichever way you're looking to accept money from Airbnb for hosting stays or for experiences. Okay. Again, just like payments, you can define as many payout methods as you like. You can click on the three dots against each of these payout methods, and you can make any of them as default. You can set an minimum payout amount is the amount which you can set. So Airbnb keeps piling up the money until it reaches that threshold and it sends you that money. For example, if you do not want Airbnb to keep sending you money in smaller chunks, you can set your minimum payout amount to, let's say, $1,000. And then as soon as it reaches $1,000, Airbnb sends the money to you. Until then, it will keep holding it for you. At the bottom of this screen is a very important option, especially if you're a busy host, if you have lots of properties to manage. This is called payment routing rule. Not many people know this, but on Airbnb, if you have multiple properties, or even if you have one property, you can actually split the payment going into various bank accounts. For example, this is what I have done. I have multiple properties and I have defined multiple bank accounts for all those properties that are associated with them. And here, when I click on add payout routing rule, I can define which property I want the money to go into which bank account or my payout method. Okay, so that way you can map each property to a payout method. Okay, there is another option here which you will see here. It's called add payout split. This makes it more interesting because after this, within just one property, let's say if you have two partners in a property and if you want Airbnb to split the payout into two, you can do this from here. Let's say if you want to send 50% into account A and the rest into account B, you can do so very easily from here. So this is how you can split the payment for one property. Or if you want to set different routing rules for properties, sending money into different bank accounts, you can simply add a routing rule. Let me just scroll to the top. You will see these two options on the right. Transaction history is a very handy tool. You can see all the upcoming payments and what has been paid to you so far very easily on this screen. The first one by default is the completed payouts. This is where you can see all the payouts Airbnb has sent to you. You can filter them on the period you are interested in. You can filter it on the listing. The next one is the upcoming payouts. This is where you can see all the upcoming payouts Airbnb has in pipeline for you. Very handy. And you can just export this if you want to. You can click on download and you can export the entire extract into a CSV file and then do whatever you want to do in an Excel after that. The last tab, gross earnings, it used to work very nicely. It would give you a summary of what you've earned in a specific period, but for some reason I've not seen this working for over the last 2 years. I hope Airbnb manages to fix it or completely remove this option. So I won't be able to tell you more about that in this video. Let's go back into the account section again. The next option is the notifications option. This is where you can control what notifications you want Airbnb to send you and how. Right. So the first tab here, you will see offers and updates. There are various kinds of offers and updates Airbnb sends you. And within each section, you can just click on edit and you can choose the way you want that offer to come to you, right? You can choose email, SMS, a phone call, or a browser notification, whichever way you want to receive all these options. At the bottom of this screen, you can click on unsubscribe from all marketing emails. And after that, Airbnb will stop sending you any kind of marketing emails. The second option on this screen is the account option. This is where you can control all the key account related notifications coming to you. For example, your guest policies, changes to your host policies, and all those things like Airbnb messages from guests and all that. When you click on edit, you can choose to have it in an email, SMS, or a browser notification. Very handy. I remember when I started hosting, I used to receive 4 kinds of notifications. Airbnb will send me an email, there will be a text message, there will be a phone app notification, and a browser notification. It can be overwhelming. To keep it simple, you can just switch it all off. This is what I have done. All the email notifications go into my email. I do not receive a SMS text anymore. And all the emails are filed. If I need to refer to them at some point, I can simply open my email and see. But this is how you can control all the notifications which you receive from Airbnb. The next option is the privacy and sharing. This is where you can control access to external third-party websites accessing your information on Airbnb. For example, if you find Airbnb is posting your status updates on your Facebook wall, this is where you can control it. The first option is share my activity on Facebook. You can simply flick this button off and that will stop sending your feed to Facebook. The second option you see is include my profile and listing in search engines. By default, Airbnb shares your profile name, your listing details to Google, so it can start appearing in the search results on Google. But if for some reason you do not want that to happen, you can simply flick this button off and that will stop sharing the data with the search engines. At the bottom of this screen, you will see the connected apps. If in the past you have authorized third-party applications accessing your Airbnb account, this is where you can simply remove their access. It's very common for hosts to authorize their Airbnb account access to third-party softwares like dynamic pricing tools, automation softwares, and all those kind of stuff. You can simply come to this section and remove their access, and after that they will simply stop interacting with your Airbnb profile. They will be disconnected from Airbnb. The next option is global preferences. This is where you can define your currency, your default language, and your time zone. It's pretty basic, but if for some reason you want to change your default currency, for example, you can just choose a different currency, and as soon as you save it, all the amounts and the figures you will see on Airbnb will start appearing in Japanese yen. In this case, it's fairly simple. If you want to change your language, you can simply choose the language which you want to see. As soon as you save, the language on Airbnb website will straight away change to that language. The next option is travel for work. Not many people know this, but you can use Airbnb for work as well. If your workplace authorizes travel on Airbnb, you can simply add your work email. They will send a validation email to your work email, and then you can just verify your ID. Once you have verified your ID, all the invoices that will be generated, which you book as part of your work, will be in your workplace's name. So that makes it easy for people to get reimbursements for their travel expenses. Another thing I have noticed, when you activate your work email address, it gives you a few new options which allow you to book stays on behalf of other people. You can book stays for your colleagues, for your teammates, or anyone else at your work very easily without having to access their profile. The next option is professional hosting tools. I believe this is a great option. Everyone who's hosting on Airbnb should come to this section at least once. The first option you will see here is the company settings. And when you click on manage, it takes you to a different screen where you have 2 options. The first option is to use professional hosting tools. Because I've clicked that button, it is no longer visible on my screen. But by default, you will see a button here which says start using professional tools. I believe everyone should click that option. The only two changes that button does is, the first one is you will start seeing an internal title on your listings. That internal title is an internal nickname which you can give to your listing, which is only visible to you. It is not visible to anyone else when they're looking at your listing. If you have lots of properties like I have, you can give them internal names, which is easier for you to understand, recognize them, and work with. The second option is the edit your business details. If you are hosting as a business on Airbnb, this is where you can enter your business details, all the business name, trading number, address, and all those kind of things. After that, all the invoices and the remittance advice and all the documentation Airbnb will send you is going to be in your company name rather than on your individual name. The second option you see under professional hosting tools is this allow me to use an email alias to reach guests. This is a feature Airbnb is slowly rolling out. So it's possible if you're watching this video a few years down the line, you won't find this. What used to happen until now is whenever you have a reservation which is confirmed, Airbnb will generate a random code at airbnb.com. That becomes your email address. If a guest wants to send an email to you rather than replying to you in Airbnb Messenger, they can use that string and email you outside Airbnb. But Airbnb doesn't like that, and they're rolling that feature off. For some reason, if you want to use that option, if you want Airbnb to generate that random email for you, you can simply flick this button and then the email starts appearing on each reservation, and you will see it on the right-hand side of each message inbox with your guest. And the last option here on this screen is the referral credits and coupons. You can see all the credits you have received from Airbnb. Unfortunately, Airbnb has stopped giving referral credits to people. Up until now, they used to give, incentives if you refer your friends to Airbnb as a host or as a traveler. But Airbnb no longer does that. But still, if you want to see your available credits and how many referrals you have referred and what is available for you to use, you can see on this screen. I imagine they will be phasing out this page very, very soon. So these are all the options you have under your accounts settings. So now let's go into manage listings page, which takes you to your hosting dashboard. And there are lots of options, especially for hosts. The dashboard doesn't give you much information. You may just skip this whenever you see it. It basically tells you who's staying in your properties, who's coming, and all that kind of stuff. The next one is inbox. You can click on inbox and it takes you to hosting inbox, where you can see messages from your guests. After that is the calendar. This is where you can see all the calendars in a unified view. If you have enabled professional tools, you can see all those calendars in one single view, and you can see all those rows are stacked very nicely. This you can see only when you have enabled professional hosting tool. The next tab is the Insights tab. This basically takes you into data and analytics about your hosting profile. You can see various parameters. Airbnb is constantly monitoring you, opportunities for you to improve your listings. There are quality indicators. You can also see your earnings here. So earnings tab is more useful in this screen than what you will find in your payments and payouts screen. Under earnings, if you want to see your earnings for any month, you can just filter on that month and it gives you the amount you have received in that specific month. Under Superhost, it gives you your Superhost criteria. Are you qualified to be a Superhost in this quarter, and how you are doing for the following quarter, right? Are you achieving your minimum requirements for Superhost the next quarter? Cleaning. If you go under cleaning, it tells you all the cleaning guidelines for Airbnb. You can see their cleaning checklist, which is quite elaborate, and I would recommend everyone to go to this option. You can just go specifically to one property and it gives you a lot more to chew. There is a lot more very useful information, how you should clean your bathroom and all that kind of stuff, and you can literally make a summary of all the things you need to regularly keep cleaning. for various places in your property. Also, there is, conversion tracking. They can, they track how many people converted when they saw your property and all those kind of different stats. So if that is something you are looking for, you can simply go into the Insights tab, and that gives you all these various options where you can see your performance, how your Airbnb hosting business is performing. Now, the next one is menu option. It has a drop down. When you click on the drop down, it opens a lot more options for you to choose from. When you click on the listings, which is the first option, it basically takes you to your listings page, and you can just click on any listing and it opens it up on the right hand side panel, and you can alter any listing. You can change settings on the listing. This is eventually we will go as well when I reach that point. Okay. But for now, I won't go into listing settings because I want to show you all the various options you have under menu. Keep in mind, Airbnb keeps moving all these options around. You may find after a few years, this menu has been redesigned, it has been moved somewhere else, but primarily all these options do stay on somewhere on the hosting dashboard. So don't be confused if you don't see the menu option exactly like this. Next tab is the reservations tab. When you click on reservations, it gives you all the reservations you currently have, all the upcoming reservations. You can click on completed, canceled, and you can also take an export from this screen by clicking here, and then you can download it as a CSV file. And you can also download it as a VAT invoice. If that is something you are looking for, just simply click on here and it will download an invoice for you. And you can just choose a PDF file for a specific month, and it just downloads a very nice PDF format which you can use for your tax purposes. If you want to create a new listing, this is the option for you. Create a new listing, and then it takes you to the basic screen which everyone sees when you start hosting on Airbnb, which is quite nice. Also, when you create a listing, not many people realize it gives you two options, whether you want to create a new listing or you want to duplicate an existing listing. Duplication works very nicely, okay? Especially if you have multiple properties of almost the same configuration. I use it a lot because I have multiple apartments in the same building. They almost have the same kind of amenities and all that. You can just click on duplicate, and when you choose duplicate, it also prompts you to choose the property and then whether you want to duplicate the photos as well, which is quite handy. You can duplicate the photos. It kind of copies everything which is in the original listing, but it still doesn't just copy exact replica, right? I would say it copies about 50% of the original listing, but you will still need to review each and every section after you duplicate. Don't just leave it like that. For example, amenities, it copies very nicely. All that big lengthy page of amenities gets copied over very nicely, but it still misses the finer details of amenities. For example, Airbnb nowadays lets you set, for example, when you choose a washer, right? Airbnb lets you nowadays set that whether the washer is in unit, whether it is free or paid, all those options. Those kind of finer details do not get copied over when you copy a listing. At this moment in time, they may fix it, but you will need to review the entire listing. But I believe it does 50% of the copying, and it does the heavy lifting for you, and you can just go and fine tune the listing. So let's go back into the menu options again. The next option is the themes option, right? The themes has been there for last 4 years, okay? Themes is an extended version, a more evolved version of co-hosting. And I believe at some point, Airbnb is going to phase out the current co-hosting plan, and they're going to move everyone to themes. I've done this before. I would give you a warning. As soon as you enable themes, when I click on this theme, it is going to ask me to enable themes, right? What it basically does is you can add multiple people to your listing apart from, just like when you add a co-host in Teams, you can add multiple people, but you can control their access within Airbnb. You can choose whether you want to show them your financial data, whether you want someone to be able to see your calendar, or you want someone to be able to see your inbox. Those kind of controls you will have. You can add your cleaner, you can add your property manager, you can add your accountant, and all those kind of things. And it gives you a lot more control. But the word of caution is, as soon as you enable themes, the co-hosting becomes disabled. Okay, you won't be able to use the co-hosting feature. Everything basically needs to move on to themes straight after that. For that reason, because my entire business is mainly co-hosting based at the moment, and at some point I believe I will need to move on to themes. But do this, click on themes only when you are sure that you're no longer going to use co-hosting model. The next is tasks. Now, task is an extension of the themes. Okay, when you create themes on Airbnb, then you can create tasks for people and you can assign the tasks to your team, which is kind of work management tool. Airbnb is gradually trying to build it up, but I think it is not the right time for them to start pushing it yet. But I believe at some point they are going to launch this and phase out co-hosting features. But for now, let's just keep it on to the next option, which is activity. When you click on activity under the menu options, it just gives you a log of all the activity that is happening on your profile. It will show when someone booked and all those things, right? When someone canceled. It is just a summary of things that are happening on your Airbnb profile. Nothing much, but it really comes handy when you want to see if you have multiple people managing your account or if you have multiple co-hosts. You can just filter on this users option and you can check their name, and that gives you options of what they have changed. You can see a complete history of who's changed what on that listing. Next option under menu is the guidebooks. Guidebook, I believe, is an amazing feature Airbnb has been keeping for a long time. It basically creates, it is a collection of all your local recommendations. You can create a guidebook for wherever you are. It's very easy. You can just give it any name. For example, I'll give it New York. And then you can upload any fancy image which you want to your guidebook. And then you can add places to your guidebook. Okay, it's very handy. You just keep typing in. It is integrated with Google Maps. And as you keep typing, it starts showing all the possible places matching that name. It is a great tool, but for some reason, so far, Airbnb is not really pushing this. They are too busy pushing experiences to people, right? So I believe it is at the back burner for the moment. But I believe this is the way forward. At some point, they should bring this forward because it really helps me as a host, because I can keep a collection of all my local recommendations. Whoever is coming to my property, I can just give them the link. When you save your guidebook, this is how it looks. So let me just show you my Edinburgh guidebook, and it shows all the places I have recommended. It gives them all the local recommendations for restaurants, for drinks, nightlife, sightseeing, and I've also added city advice, where you can add how people should buy tickets, and if there are bus passes, people can buy it. Most of the tourists do not know about bus passes. I tell my guests this is where you can go and buy a bus pass and save money rather than paying for individual tickets. So you can add your advice, your personal experience under city advice section. Okay, this is really cool. I believe this is really handy. Everyone should be using something like this. And then in the end, when you want to share it with someone, you can just click on the share button, copy link, and send it to your guest. It is automatically visible to the guest as well. But as I said, Airbnb is not giving it the prominent space because they're too busy trying to sell experiences to the people. Let's go back to the hosting dashboard again. I'll need to exit out of this, I guess. Okay, so after guidebooks, the next option you will see is the pro marketing page, right? When you click on pro marketing page, it is nothing but a fancy page Airbnb creates for you. You can upload your background cover image, like I've uploaded one image from Edinburgh, and then everything else is basically, it shows you all the properties you are currently managing. It shows all your reviews in one place. It is just a nicer view of your properties and what your Airbnb profile is. If you want to impress someone or if you want to share your Airbnb profile, this is what you should do. Click on menu and then go to professional marketing page. Next is transaction history. This is where you can see the transaction history. If you remember, we could see the same page under payments and payouts, but I believe Airbnb is trying to move it away from there because it's kind of hidden when it is there. But here you can easily access it, but it does the same thing. It is exactly the same. You can see your completed payouts, you can see your upcoming payouts, and gross earnings. The next one is explore hosting resources. This is where you can see all the guides and videos Airbnb has created to help on your hosting journey. They give you all lots of tips and advice. It is quite up to date, very interesting place. If you want to spend a few hours reading some interesting material created by Airbnb, it's very practical, and I would recommend you spend some time on this as well. The next is visit our community forum. If you have not used this before, I would recommend you go there, try and find various articles, various topics people are discussing. It is a very informative repository of discussions people are talking about. You will find lots of tips and tricks from other hosts and their problems and how they deal with. It is a very handy resource. You can also use it whenever you're stuck on something, and if you're not able to find an answer from Airbnb customer services, you can also raise your points and your problems here. Airbnb is constantly monitoring this space. They have their moderators, and they can really pick up your problem and take it to customer services and get you a resolution. So try and use the community. Airbnb community is a very useful tool. Now we have been through all these options as well. Now let's go into the listing, and I will show you all the various options you have under the listings tab. This is what happens when you click on listing. It shows you all the properties you have, and then you can just click on any of the property and it opens on the right hand side. It opens everything about that property. So I will start with the first tab, which is the listing details tab. The first option you will see is the photos. You can see an edit button here. If you want to delete a photo, you can do so. You can just click on these three dots and you can delete it, you can move forward, and you can edit it. Not many people know this, but you can do slight adjustments to your photo on Airbnb itself without having to download it and edit it, right? Let me show you how. You just click on edit here, and this gives you few very basic options to change. You can increase the contrast and all that kind of stuff, brightness and all. You can zoom in or zoom out. You can rotate the image. And if you're not really sure what to do with this photo, but you just don't like the look of it, I think it is worth trying the enhanced photo. This is a predefined setting. As soon as you do that, Airbnb does some clever magic and it makes the photo look better. This is how you can edit the photos on Airbnb without having to download it. In the first tab, you can add details. You can type captions about what this place is. If you want to write your comments, it is generally a nice idea to write a small commentary about what is in the picture and everything else. If you want to move the photos from, within the gallery, it is very tricky just because Airbnb makes it so big. The pictures are so big. It is not really very handy when it comes to, adjusting the photos or changing their order. It is kind of painstaking at the moment, but I hope they will soon realize this and find a solution for that as well. If you want to add more photos, this is where you can click and just upload some photos. Simple as that. If you want to change your cover photo, you can just go into any photo and click on these three dots and mark it as make cover photo. And that photo will immediately be moved to the top, and that becomes your cover photo for the property. Next is the listing basics. The first option you will see is the listing title. When you click on listing title, it opens the title of the listing, and also you will see the internal name of the listing. If you remember, I was talking about professional tools under accounts. When you enable professional tools, this field becomes visible, okay? And then you can enter your own name, internal name, and this name isn't visible to anyone else. That is one feature that professional tool enables. Next is when you want to add your listing description. This is where you can add your listing description. If you want to write something about the space, you can add some space comments. You can mention under guest access what kind of places and what is there for people to access in your property and what is not. Also, if you want to add some other commentary, you can add it under other details to note. It is a good idea to just keep populated all of these fields. Do not leave anything empty, because that helps in your search engine optimization. Airbnb has given you a field, try and populate it. Let me just come out of that. And the next one is number of guests. This is where you can increase or change the number of guests your property can accommodate. It is very simple. You can just click on plus or minus and it just changes, right? The next field is custom link. You can just click on custom link. It is nothing but it creates a unique link which you can easily remember when it comes to sharing it with your friends and family. For example, I have given it an Ontario mention, right? This is what the unique URL of my property is. You can type your name or whatever is easier for you to remember. If that word is available, Airbnb will save it for you. And after that, for example, I can just share this URL. If I'm in a party and someone asks me, what is your Airbnb listing and can I see it? And if I don't have my phone or if I don't have access to my Airbnb profile, I can simply ask them to go, hey, you know what, you can go to airbnb.com/Ontario mention, and that's my property, right? So it makes it easy to remember your Airbnb URL, and that is the only advantage of using custom link. Languages is the next option which you can add. It is not entirely clear what this does. Airbnb automatically translates your property into the user's language, but I believe if you want to override that automatic translation, you can enable a specific language here, and then you can write your own translation on Airbnb listing. But at this point of time, I've tried adding another language, but I didn't see any other option to add my own translation. I believe this is an evolving tool. Airbnb might be rolling out very soon in the future. The next option is the listing status, right? When you click on edit, you will see 4 options here. The first one is listed. When it is in this status, it is available for public to book. When it is snoozed, you can snooze it if you're going away on a holiday, or if you are still working on your property listing and you don't want anyone to book, you can enter your start and end date, and that property becomes invisible for that period of time. Next option is unlisted. It basically unlists your property. It becomes unavailable for public to view, and you will have to go in and mark it as listed again when you want it to. So the only difference between snoozed and unlisted is in snoozed, it becomes automatically available when the end date arrives, but in unlisted, you will specifically need to go in and mark it as listed. The next option is the deactivate option, right? This is the option if you want to delete your listing permanently, you can choose deactivate. It will completely remove your listing. If you want to recreate it, you will have to recreate it from the scratch again. This is very handy when people are trying various options and they create multiple test listings. And if you want to deactivate or delete a listing on Airbnb, you will need to publish it once, and then it will take you to this screen, and then you can choose deactivate. Apart from this, there is no option on Airbnb to delete a listing. This is how you can do. You will need to publish it and then deactivate. The next section is the amenities section. You can click on edit and it gives you a whole lot of options. They always keep changing it. They are adding more and more fields for you to identify and mark yes or no, right? It is an always evolving list. Try and keep an eye on this. I would recommend you visit this area at least once a month to see if Airbnb has added something in the list which you have in your property but not been able to mark so far. Under each of these options, they are adding more and more detail which you can mention. For example, under gym, they have mentioned private or public, which is kind of great. It gives a lot more clarity to the guest, what kind of gym it is, whether it is in the building or it is nearby. They are adding these finer details to more and more amenities gradually. You will see this option under pool, sauna, and the same options are available under barbecue, garden, and all those kind of things. So I would recommend spend plenty of time when you're populating your amenities section on Airbnb, because it is an elaborate list. It is an exhaustive list. It is very important that you make sure you mark all the amenities you have in your property here. The next is location. You can click on edit and it basically shows you the location. Bear in mind, it is not very easy to change the location once you have started receiving reservations. You can easily change your property location until the point you have received a reservation. But after that, if you want to change, you will need to call Airbnb and tell them the reason why you want to change. You mistyped the postcode or you mistyped the door number, and they will easily change it for you. But when they make a change, a notification gets triggered to all those people who have booked your property, telling them that the property address has changed. Unless it is a big change, I think everyone will be okay. The next option is neighborhood description, where you can mention what is in the neighborhood and all that. Following that is the getting around option, where you can mention, how far is a coffee shop from your property, or how far is a supermarket or pharmacy, and all those kind of things. It is quite useful to mention all those things here. The next is location sharing. By default, Airbnb shows the general location of a property. Okay, they show a big circle. They do not exactly pinpoint on the map where the property is located, but you can change that and you can mark as a specific location. And after that, whoever is looking at your property, they will be able to see the precise location where it is, right? I think it is a good idea. If you don't have any reasons to hide your location or exact location, you can do so. The next option is scenic views. This is a newly added feature. You can click on add it, and if your property has some specific views, some nice views, and you want to mention it, this is where you can take them. If you have a garden view, if you have a forest view, or if you have a pool view or a courtyard view, you can mention it all here. Let's go into property and rooms section now. The first option is property type. This is where you can change the property type. If you want to change it to a house, or if you want to change it to a cottage, or if you want to change it to a bungalow, this is where you can do this. It is a good idea when you're publishing a listing to come into this and make sure you have chosen the right kind of property type for your place. Down below, they have added 2 more new options. The first one is how many floors does the building have and which floor is this listing on. It is very useful, especially for properties which are apartments in a high-rise building. You can exactly mention how many floors are in the building and where your property is. Until now, there was nowhere you could mention that apart from mentioning it in the description. I used to get a lot of inquiries. People will ask you which floor it is and how many floors are in the building and all that. But now with these 2 options, you can mention it all here up front and people will hopefully be able to see it. The next option is rooms and spaces. You need to pay a lot of attention to this. This is a very useful feature. It basically organizes your property into sleeping spaces, and then you can organize your pictures for each room. What it does is it shows all the rooms and bathrooms and extra spaces you have mentioned so far. If you want to change it, you can do it here. You can click on edit rooms and spaces at the top, and then you can just mention how many rooms and spaces your property has. You can mention a dining area, office, a back garden, a patio, and all those things. If your property has a hot tub, garage, gym, and all those things, you can mention. And as you keep ticking them here, it keeps adding all those things in the background. And after that, what you need to do is go into each of those rooms and add photos for those places. Okay, so for example, this is a bedroom. You can go into edit photos. It shows your default uploaded photos here. And then you can just choose the photos that belong to that space and save it. The next option is shared with others. If that specific room or area within your house is shared by other people, you can just click on this, and that clearly indicates to the guest that these are the places that will be shared with other people. None of these areas is shared in my property, so I will uncheck it. Another thing is at the bottom of this page, you will see who these areas are shared with. All those places which you have marked as shared in the spaces above, who are they shared with? You can say whether it is shared with other guests, whether it is shared with friends, family, or roommates, or is it with you? I'll go back up, and all the bedrooms and living rooms, you will see this option where you can add a sleeping arrangement as well, right? So you can just click on this and you can mention how many sleeping spaces are within that bedroom or living room. You won't see the sleeping arrangement option in any other area apart from bedrooms and living rooms. And also there is the last checkbox which says has private ensuite bathroom. So if a bedroom has an ensuite attached to it, you can mention that here. It's very handy, and the way they show it to the guest is amazing. It becomes super clear, whoever is looking at your property. Let me see if they have enabled it on this property yet, but it makes it so nice and so clear to people to be able to understand your property. So if you look at it, this is how it is displayed to the guest who's looking at the property. Bedroom 1, they can click on this and they can see bedroom 2 are the photos, bedroom 3, bedroom 4, and they can see all the different spaces with their own pictures rather than having to look at 50 photos and trying to guess which photo belongs to which bedroom. It is, I believe, a very good feature. The next is accessibility. Now, accessibility is good to have if your property is accessible. I would recommend you go in there and add all those accessible options, right? But what I have experienced so far is it is extremely difficult to add accessibility features to your property in its current state, purely because every space you mark as accessible, Airbnb asks you for too many details. You will need to upload the pictures of that space and they will review it and they will approve it. Only after that, it starts showing as accessible. I can understand why they're doing it because it is so important. People who need accessibility, and they sometimes they show up at the property and it is not really accessible where they thought it would be. So I can understand why they're doing it, but unfortunately in its current state, it is just too difficult to mark your spaces accessible. I believe they need to find another solution. But if you don't mind going into these details, adding photos, I think you should definitely do all that. Let's go back into the listing page. And the last option on listing details tab is the guest safety. This is again very important. You should clearly mention all the safety devices you have in your property, along with all the safety considerations people should understand when they're booking your property. For example, you can mark whether your property has a pool or a hot tub without a gate, nearby lake or river, and all those kind of safety features. I will let you go through all these. Security camera is extremely important. As you know, any camera on your property, whether it is outdoors, indoors, whether it is a door camera, you should definitely clearly mention here, right? And when you mention it here, they will let you enter the description of where it is and all those things. And they will also want you to confirm that none of these devices is monitoring the personal spaces of people, right? I believe this is a very good feature. You can clearly identify what cameras and security devices you have on your property. The last section under this is property info, where you can mention if there are any steps to climb to enter the property. For example, I have marked this property as yes, there are 2 steps to enter the property. Just in case someone is not able to climb 2 steps, they can clearly see this here. Let's go back into the listing. So this is all we have covered under the listing details tab. Let's go into pricing and availability tab. The first option, which they have added, I believe, in the last 1 month, is just for your information. People, when they're new to hosting, sometimes it is very difficult to guess what is the final price guest pays. And that you can do it from here. You can just click on show here and it displays how your property is priced. This is what the total price is, this is what the guest will pay, and this is what you will earn when they pay it. It clearly gives you the guest service fee they will be paying and the total amount. So I believe this is a good idea. You should do that, especially when you're listing your property for the first time. The next option is nightly price. When you click on edit here, you can see the first option is smart pricing. You can enable or disable smart pricing here, and you can also mention your base price. right? Keep in mind, if you're planning to use an external dynamic pricing tool, you need to keep smart pricing off. Okay, it is anyway not a good idea to use Airbnb smart pricing because it just gives you the prices which will rarely be acceptable to you. I think it is a good idea to keep smart pricing off and use a dynamic pricing tool. I will drop a link of the best dynamic pricing tools in the industry. Please feel free to explore them. They will change the prices of your property just like hotels and airlines do. Otherwise, you can set your base price and then Airbnb sets that price on all the dates in your calendar. Next is listing currency. If you want to change the currency of your listing, for example, by default, Airbnb applies the currency your property is located in. But for some reason, if you like to see your prices and everything else on Airbnb website in a different currency, you can just choose the different currency and save. After that, all the prices you will see on Airbnb will be in the currency you choose. Next is the discount field. This is where you can mention 5 kinds of discount and you can offer on various conditions. The first one is weekly discount. It's easy. You can just click on add it and you can mention what kind of weekly discount you want to offer to people. And after that, the next one is monthly discount. You can simply mention what is the monthly discount you're willing to offer, and Airbnb automatically calculates this discount when people choose the dates which matches this criteria. The next is add a discount for other stays. So this is again a cool feature. Airbnb lets you enter discount for specific nights. Say, for example, if you want to offer a discount for 1 night or 3 nights or 5 nights or 5 weeks, all those options are here. You can simply choose the date and you can mention the discount you want to offer and save, and then it saves and it automatically calculates as soon as someone fulfills that criteria, the dates they have chosen meet that criteria, that discount you have mentioned will automatically be factored in. The next option is early bird discount. This is where you can mention early bird discount if someone wants to book your property too far in future. Let's say if you want to offer anyone booking your property 6 months in advance, you can just click 6 months here and you can say, I want to offer 20% discount whoever is booking my property so early. That will get you a lot more bookings from people who plan well. And the last option under this is the last minute discount. This is where you can offer if you want to fill in the gaps, or if you fill in the last minute bookings, you can just mention 2 days before arrival, I want to give 25% discount, for example, and then any dates which is available within the immediate 2 days, Airbnb will automatically discount that price, and that will hopefully get you a booking as well. Next is the additional charges section. This is where you can mention your cleaning fee. You can just simply click on add it and enter the cleaning fee which you like to charge to the guest. Airbnb has recently added short stay cleaning fee. This is where you can offer a reduced cleaning fee if someone is booking your property for 1 or 2 nights. You can just flick this button and that enables a new field, and you can mention, for example, if you want to offer $200 cleaning fee for 1 or 2 nights, and then Airbnb will factor that cleaning fee automatically based on the dates the guest has chosen. If you want to add a pet fee, this is a new feature again Airbnb has recently added. You can add the pet cleaning fee. If you allow pets, you can mention the cleaning fee. Please note that this cleaning fee which you mention is per stay. It is not for per night. So if someone is staying in your property for 2 nights, they will pay the same fee as if someone is staying for 15 nights. So keep that in mind when you're setting your pet fee up. Next is a linen fee, resort fee, management fee, and community fee. These are, if they are applicable, you can simply click add it and you can enter the amount which you want to charge. The next is extra guest fee, right? This is where you can add additional charge for guests after a certain number. It is a common practice. Lots of people do this. For example, if your property accommodates 10 people, you can say up to 5 is covered in my base price, but after 5, every additional person has to pay an extra charge. This is where you can mention that. You can, for example, if I want to charge $20 for everyone who's coming after 5, And that's it. This is what you would do. And after that, Airbnb will automatically calculate the prices based on the number of people the guest is choosing. And the next is weekend nightly price. If you are not using a dynamic pricing tool, if you're setting your prices manually, it will be a good idea to just mention a weekend price, which is usually higher. And then Airbnb will ensure that your price stays at least above that level. Next is taxes. Right? So under taxes, if you want to charge a GST, HST, VAT, whatever is applicable in your area, you can do so under this. You can click add a tax, and then they will ask you to what kind of tax you are planning to charge. And then you can mention whether it is fee per guest per night, fee per guest per night, or percentage per booking. You can mention which value this tax is applicable on. And then if there is a maximum cap per person per night, you can mention it here. They will also need you to enter your business tax ID and accommodation tax registration number here. And if you don't have an accommodation tax registration number, you can just simply mention the tax ID again and they accept it. The last option on this screen is if you want to exclude long-term bookings or if there is a conditional exemption. For example, in some areas, 28 nights or more stays are exempt from VAT. So if something like that, you can just simply click on yes, and you can mention 28 nights. And after that, Airbnb will automatically factor in the VAT if a booking is within 28 nights or it is greater than 28 nights of stay. And then you can just click on terms for adding, and then that will let you save it. Let's go back into the pricing and availability tab again. After that is the custom trip length. Okay, this is where you can define if you have a varying criteria. If you want to say within the January period, you want to have at least 3 nights stay, you can very easily do that. You can just choose 1st of January to 31st of January, and then you can say, I want to allow only 2 nights stay for January. So if you have a complicated criteria, you can simply choose the dates where you want to apply, and then it creates custom trip lengths for you. Next is calendar availability, and the first option under that is advance notice. This setting lets you choose up until what time people can make a reservation on the day of their arrival, right? So if your property is available for tonight, people can book it only until 8 o'clock. After 8 o'clock, your property becomes unavailable. This is that setting here. The next is preparation time. If you want a downtime after each guest, if you need 1 day to clean the property, you can mention a preparation time here. You can say block 1 night before and after each reservation. And as soon as someone books your property, Airbnb will block the day before that and after that for you to clean the place. The next option is availability window. You can mention how far your calendar is available in future for people to book. You can say 9 months, you can say 12 months, or you can open all the dates in future. You can also mark dates unavailable by default. That basically means you will need to go into calendar and only open the dates which you want to host for. By default, all the dates will be unavailable. When you choose a specific month, what it does is it keeps opening your calendar on a rolling basis. As time goes by, it will keep opening 1 day in 9 months in future if that is what you choose. The next option is restricted check-in and check-out days. This is very handy if you do not want people to check in on certain days, or if you don't want them to check out on certain days. You can simply go in here and click on edit. And let's say if you do not want anyone to check in on Sunday, you can simply choose Sunday and save. Airbnb will ensure that you do not receive a booking starting from Sunday after that. The same way, you can restrict days for checkout. For example, if you do not want anyone to check out on Sunday or a Monday, you can just save that, and Airbnb will never let anyone book a stay which makes them check out on Sunday or Monday. Next is calendar sync. This is where you can import and export your Airbnb calendar. If you're planning to list your property on multiple platforms, you can simply click on export calendar, and this URL you will need to copy, and you will need to import this into the target application where you're taking. For example, if you're planning to list your property on VRBO or booking.com, you will simply copy this URL and paste it under their calendar. And the same way, you will need to copy the calendar from that application and click on import here, and you can simply paste that calendar URL, give it a name, and then click on import calendar. After that, Airbnb will keep syncing your reservations with that external calendar, and that external calendar will also keep sending the reservations onto Airbnb. That way you can keep your calendars in sync. Bear in mind, this iCal format, which is the URL format, this technology can lead to problems. It doesn't work instantaneously. If you receive a booking on the other application or other website, it won't immediately block your calendar. There is usually an hour or two delay in the syncing of the calendar. So if you really want to use multiple websites, you should be using an automation software. I will drop a link below of the best tool in the industry. Try and use that. That makes sure you never receive a double booking. I had to switch off my camera so you can see all these options towards the bottom of the screen. The next option is linked Airbnb calendars. Now, what this does is, if you are planning to rent different rooms within your house and you want to rent the entire house as well, this is where you can link the calendars with each other, so that if you receive a booking for one room, the entire house becomes unavailable. And if you receive a booking for the entire house, all the individual rooms become unavailable. Okay, this is where you define the calendar links. Okay, Airbnb does it very nicely. You won't see anything under this option if you don't have multiple properties. Okay, only when you have multiple properties, you will see the options under this. But in this case, I had to switch on to a different profile where I could demonstrate this to you. This is how you can do it. You can click on create linked calendars, and then it will ask you, okay, tell me which is the main listing that contains your other listing. Okay, so I will just give an example, although it is not the real scenario. Let's say this apartment contains my other two apartments as well. So I will just choose the child apartments and click on save. As soon as you click on save, behind the scenes, Airbnb takes care of linking the calendars together, and it will make sure you do not receive a double booking for those units. I'll move on, and the last setting in this is sharing settings. There isn't much you can do in this, but it is basically, what you want to share and, with other people on Airbnb, mainly other hosts on Airbnb. It just gives you some analytical data of, people looked at your property and they booked this property. So you can compare what is selling in the market and what is not. Generally, personally, for me, it is a lot to consume, so I don't really bother about that. But if that is something you really wish to see, you may choose one of these options, and then it will start giving you all those predictions. Or else you can just simply choose this, so they won't share your data with other hosts in the area who are looking to find that kind of data, and you won't see theirs either. Okay, simple as that. But nothing that excites me personally. Let's move on to the next tab, which is policies and rules. The first one under policies and rules is the cancellation policy. Okay, when you click on edit, it gives you a whole lot of options. Up until now, it just used to be 3 options: flexible, moderate, and strict. Okay, but now Airbnb is experimenting with a lot of different flavors. You can see a non-refundable flavor for each type of cancellation policy. What it basically means is the guest gets a 10% discount and they have to commit to the dates. Okay. And it does happen that people cannot make it and then they try to change their reservation. They don't want to cancel it because they know they won't get any refund. They will try and change the dates as well. I personally do not change the dates as well because, hey, I've given you 10% discount, so you have committed to these dates. You have to come or you don't get any refund. And I know it gets complicated after that because some people will say, okay, I won't cancel and I will leave you a bad review. but that is not what you want. So you tell them that, look, if you cancel your booking 24 hours before arrival, you get your cleaning fee refunded. And usually it is a significant chunk. So people do generally cancel their booking. So you have no risk of getting a bad review for, not refunding or not accepting a change for a non-refundable option. But it is purely your own personal choice. This is how I do, but it's all up to you how you want to do that. Now, there is a strict version, there is a firm version, there is a whole heap of new cancellation policies Airbnb has introduced. I won't spend much time, explaining each one of them. It is self-explanatory. You can just spend your time understanding what these cancellation policies are. Moving on, the next one is instant booking. You can click on instant booking and then you can turn it on or off. When you have instant booking on, anyone can book without waiting for your approval. But still, on top of that, you can enable these 3 checkboxes. Okay, so anyone who meets these 3 criteria, they can book your property instantly, and everyone else has to still send you a booking request and you have to accept it. Okay. When you turn instant booking off, then you don't have an option for those criteria. Everyone will just send you a booking request and then you will have to ask them questions. And only when you're comfortable, you can accept that reservation. Okay. The 3 options in instant booking on are, the first one is government issued ID, right? They should have their government ID verified by Airbnb. And the second is they should have been recommended by a host in the past, where they have stayed somewhere and the last or the previous host left positive remarks about that person. If that person meets these 2 criteria, they can book without waiting for your approval. If someone doesn't meet any of these criteria, they have to send you a booking request. Now, the third option you will see, which is a pre-booking message. Okay, this is nothing but, whenever someone is instantly booking, you can just write your own question, which gets sent to them as when they're booking it. For example, I like to ask them, okay, please share who you're coming with and what is the purpose of your visit. I think that is a good idea to ask them, and that makes them think that you are an alert host, you are watching who's coming and why they're coming and all that. But it's up to you what you want to add into this option. Next one is check-in window. This is where you can define your check-in window. You can, for start time and end time, both of them you can choose flexible. Okay. Generally, I won't recommend setting a flexible check-in start time because then people will start appearing at any time. It is industry standard to have a start time for check-in at 3 p.m. I would recommend you do so as well, or if you can change it, whatever, as long as you are aware of the repercussions of that. If you have a self check-in where you do not really need to meet and greet, like in my case, you can simply choose flexible, and that simply means from 3 o'clock onwards, you're welcome to arrive anytime that suits you. Okay. Same for checkout time. When you click on checkout time, you can just choose your latest time to check out, and the guest will have to leave the property by that time. Okay. Now, the next one is a security deposit. Okay. This is where you can define the security deposit. And the way it works is, at the time of the booking, Airbnb does not take the security deposit from the guest. 24 hours before the guest is due to arrive, Airbnb places a block on their payment card. Okay. And that block is released 14 days after their stay is over. Now, the trick is the security deposit, although we all think that, I should have a significant security deposit, to protect your place. But if you look at it technically, having a higher security deposit, it doesn't really protect your place more, because you are always guaranteed 1 million damage insurance by Airbnb anyway. Okay. They won't even tell you when they are reimbursing you for a damage where that money is coming from. And it has happened to me in the past where I was raising a claim and I asked Airbnb, are you getting the money from this person's damage deposit? They said, sorry, we can't tell you that. It doesn't really protect you more when you have a higher damage deposit. Okay. But Still, it is a good idea to have a reasonable amount of damage deposit just to make the person feel a bit, okay, just to get a bit of their skin in the game, so they are, extra cautious when, dealing with things in your property. I generally set it to my 1 night or 1.5 nights, the nightly stay rate. Okay, but don't set it too high, because then it just sets people off. Because if you set it to like $1,000 or £1,000, it is just gonna put off people from your property. Keep it minimum. It doesn't really protect you more, and you can, as long as you get a bit of their skin, that does the purpose. Okay, the next one is frontline stays. Okay, Airbnb released this feature during the COVID pandemic. You could offer a discount for frontline workers, where whoever is looking for a temporary accommodation during the pandemic, they could book the property. Now Airbnb will validate, they will do ID verification for whoever is claiming to be a frontline worker, and only after that they will automatically be able to book your property with the discounted rate. If someone is messaging you on Airbnb telling them that, hey, I'm a frontline worker, can you give me a discount? That is not the right way. They should go to Airbnb. There must be a link somewhere where they can register as a COVID-19 responder or a frontline worker. And then only after Airbnb has verified them, Airbnb automatically leads them to the listings where they have a discount. Okay, they don't really need to come to you directly. That is not the way, and people try and take advantages, unfortunately. So just say no if someone is asking for a discount in pretext for a frontline worker. You can offer any kind of discount you want, or you can offer free stays as well if you really want to help people. Yeah, there is a 75 cleaning fee. So if you're just offering your place for free, Airbnb still will pay you £75 cleaning fee, and this cleaning fee will vary depending on the kind of property you have. For my property, this is what they recommend. Right, so the next option is the house rules. Okay, this is where you can define your house rules. Airbnb has some predefined house rules. The first one is whether your property is suitable for 10 to 12 years old, whether your property is suitable for infants. Okay, and when you say it is not suitable for infants, it lets you define as well, because sometimes people don't feel very comfortable having toddlers into the property because they are cautious of the sharp corners and the tables and all those kind of things. And if that is the case, you can just mention it here, like I have a travel cot, I have a high chair, but I don't have corner guards and the fireplace fence and that kind of stuff. And people will be able to read that. And even after that, if someone still feels safe to bring their toddler, they're welcome to bring it. Okay, because you have described exactly how your place is and what your reservations are. If they're still booking it, they're accepting those risks. And maybe they can say, well, okay, I will bring my own corner guards or a fireplace fence. So that is how it works. The next one is pets allowed. Okay, as long as you say pets allowed, the pet cleaning fee gets activated as well, and then you can enter your pet cleaning fee. If this is disabled here and you try and enter a pet fee, then Airbnb gives you a warning telling you that you haven't allowed pets in your property yet. So you will need to come into this section and allow pets first before you do that. Next one is smoking allowed, and it is no, right? For my property, it is no, and I'm really looking for Airbnb to add a similar field they've added for suitable for infants, because smoking allowed it doesn't really give enough information. Because let's say if I have a house, I don't want anyone to smoke indoors, but I don't mind if someone is going out in the garden and smoking, right? As long as they clean up. So I would really hope Airbnb adds a field here where I can just mention smoking allowed, and then I can just say only outdoors in the garden, but not inside. Okay, something like that will really help. Anyway, let's move on. The next one is events. When you say events, and again, the need to add something more descriptive. Event could mean anything, right? Someone is coming to celebrate their birthday party with their friends, with their family. That is an event, right? So I would really hope Airbnb add some more ability for us to describe what we can allow and what we can't. Event can be, a marriage or a wedding ceremony, or it could just be a birthday, right? So I'm hoping there will be more anyway. Moving on, additional rules. This is where you can define your own additional rules, okay? Anything you want to add. For example, I would write no undeclared guests at any time, which I would recommend to anyone anyway, because sometimes people do what they do is they will book for 4 people and there are 8 people on the property, and when you ask them, they will say these are my just friends and they're here for a drink and they're leaving. You don't know whether they are leaving or not. For that reason, I always tell my guests no undeclared guests at any time. If they want to meet a friend for a drink, they should go somewhere else, but not at my property, right? But similarly, you can add your own house rules, whatever you're comfortable with. Airbnb makes sure that people read your house rules before they confirm their reservations. So they have to accept your house rules. Someone cannot just say, oh no, I didn't even read your house rules. That's not possible. Airbnb makes them accept your house rules. Next one is a guest requirement. This is a recently added feature. I don't completely understand it at this moment, and I'm hoping they will really evolve this. What it says is, if you turn on this, you will be able to see guest's profile photo after a booking is confirmed, but not before that. Okay. I don't know why it's an option for me to choose, and I can see the photos now without this being on. So I think this is an evolving feature. I would rather move on to the next setting than spending time on this half-cooked solutions Airbnb seem to have deployed. Next one is local laws. Okay, laws and regulations. It doesn't really take you anywhere. It just leaves you to a link where you can go and find any local restrictions that apply to Airbnb in all the areas in the world. So when you click here, it leads you to their central repository where you can find what kind of restrictions apply in UK in general. It's just, a lot of reading material. If you want to spend some time on it, you can, but let's just move on for now. The next one is primary use of listing. This is the last option on pricing and policies and rules section. This is where you can mark whether this place is primarily set for guests, if this is a pure commercial property for you, or if you used to live there and you're renting the property just while you're on holiday or temporarily, you can just mention it here. With that, Airbnb makes sure that they inform the guest that some of the belongings in this property are your personal belongings, so that they can take care. Let's go into the next section, which is info for guests. Now, this is a new screen they have evolved in the last few months, and I think some of the things they have done is great. Okay, lots of options to add. The first one is check-in window. If you remember, the same information was in policies and rules as well, and so the information is displayed twice. Okay. The only reason it is displayed twice is it says pre-booking details. Okay, so people can see all these details which you mentioned before they can book. Okay, that's why it is repeated, I believe. So you can still change it here, and then it changes on the other place as well, where we saw earlier. Same is with checkout time. The next is guidebooks. Okay, this is where I was talking about the guidebooks earlier. This is where you can assign a guidebook to your property. Okay, so this guidebook will be visible to people even before the book. Okay, the next one is interaction with guests. This is where you can choose 3 options. You can say I plan to socialize with guests, or you can say I give my guests space but available when needed. That is what I do. And then the last option is you can say, I won't be available in person, right? Depending on what suits you most, you can just choose the option, and you can, if you want, you can write a brief documentary of, you are around and you can help them and all that kind of stuff. But let's just move on to the next option. The next is post-booking details. Okay, so the difference is these are pre-booking details. So people who have not confirmed their booking, they will be able to see these details. Okay. The second option is for post booking details. Okay, this is the information that people will only be able to see once their reservation is confirmed. Okay, the first thing is address. The second is directions, and you can mention your detailed travel directions just like I have. And the next option is you can add your house manual, a guest manual. Okay, now the key thing here is nowhere else you can add an external URL. Okay, Airbnb will stop you because you're not allowed to share external URLs on your Airbnb listing. But Airbnb will allow external URLs only in this section, which is the post booking details, because these details are shared with guests only after their reservation is confirmed. So that's okay with Airbnb. So this is what I generally do in my newer listings, is I upload a document, which is my complete house manual, on a Google Drive or a Dropbox, and I paste the link in the guest manual section. Okay, so the guest manual is Airbnb makes sure it is easily accessible to people when they are staying in your property. And if I have added my link, they can just easily click on the house manual and they can just go and see all the information I need to tell them about my property. So maybe you can do something like that, or if you don't want something fancy, you can just write a few comments, whatever you think is necessary for people to know. The next one is check-in instructions. Okay, this is where you can tell them this is how you can check in. I have a smart lock, a keypad, or a lockbox, or a building staff, or a host greets you, and all those options, right? And if you want to share your unique code, you can mention that in here. Okay, it's perfectly okay if you have a secret code, because this information will only be visible to people only after they have confirmed the booking. However, there is a small glitch in this whole process, because someone can book your place, they can see your code and cancel the booking, and that way although they are not coming to your property, they still know the code, right? So there are ifs and buts depending on what you choose. I think there used to be a setting here earlier where Airbnb would let you choose that these details will not be shared with the guest until they're past their cancellation point, free cancellation point. But they have removed this option for now. I'm hoping they will bring it back in a better form. The next option is the Wi-Fi details. You can just click on here and enter your Wi-Fi username and password, and people will be able to connect to your Wi-Fi. I've heard that Airbnb nowadays automatically connects people, as soon as they land at your property, Airbnb gives them a prompt that do you want to connect to the Wi-Fi, and they don't need to enter the username and password. Airbnb just provides them information from your listing, but I'm not really sure how that works. Okay, so maybe that is something you can try on your next trip. And the last tab is the co-host tab. This is where you can add co-hosts to your property. Airbnb has recently introduced a limit of 3 people, so you can maximum have 3 co-hosts to your property, and which is okay. One key thing to note is, and not many people know this, is there is this activity section at the bottom. Okay, you can click this to see the activity on your listing definition. Okay, this is very useful, especially for people who have multiple hosts, and if you just want to see who has changed what, or is anyone changing anything, you can just click on listing activity under co-hosts tab. And then it shows you a complete log of who has changed what on your listing, and it just keeps scrolling. I think you can go as back as 1 year back in the past, and you can see complete history of what has been changed and by which host. And lastly, let me just give you a quick overview of these 4 buttons over on the top right corner. The first one is a green button. It shows that property is listed. If your property is not listed, it turns red. Okay. The next one just indicates that it is an instantly bookable property. Okay. And the third icon is if you want to see the calendar of the property, you can just click here. And the fourth option is if you want to preview your listing, you can just click on it and it opens the preview. Before we end this video, I want to show you how you can navigate the calendar Okay, and what are the options you have when you're looking at your property calendar, and how you can change the price and block the dates and all that. So this is the new calendar. This is how the calendar appears, and it is pretty simple. You can just choose any date, and on the right hand side it gives you options to mark it as available, or you can just block it here. Okay, if you want to change the minimum stay requirements for that night, you can just change it to whatever you want. Also, you can set your nightly price here. Okay, you can just simply type in, and that takes the nightly price. If you want to change it for a few dates, you can just drag your mouse, select one date and drag it, and then it chooses all those dates which you have selected, like that. Okay, 18 to 23, and then you can completely block them all together at once. You can change their price altogether at once, and you can also add a rule set if you want. Now, rule set is very complicated, okay, but it's a very powerful tool. You can offer all kinds of discounts, length of stay discounts, trip length, check-in and check-out days. All those settings which we had under pricing and availability are also available here. You can also save your rule sets with a name, and then if you want to reapply the same rules on a different date, you can simply go and select those dates, and it will show you your saved rule set. It is quite complicated. Not many people use this, but I think Airbnb has given you the opportunity. If you want to have that complicated kind of setup, it is the thing for you. So I think that is all I wanted to show you, all about the navigation on how Airbnb's new navigation works, where all the settings are. I hope you find this video extremely helpful, useful. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. I will be making more such videos. Until next time, bye-bye.